Hi, audio listener. I'm going to be really quick with this little message. This is our first ever podcast, so welcome in, and I hope you guys enjoy everything we talk about in this. I just want to say a quick thank you for deciding to listen to us and give us your ears, so you can maybe learn something or have some thoughts of your own in your head, thinking about some stuff. But please do let us know if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, or if you have a topic that you would like us to give our honest opinion over. Just let us know. You can tweet me at lunatic mimic. Again, that's at Lunatic Mimic, Mimic, over on X or Twitter. And then we'll go from there and see if we can find a topic to talk about. This one is obviously talking about Call of Duty, and from our standpoint as a player, looking at franchise and looking at where it's going, where it needs to go, and kind of what needs to get fixed from a player's perspective. And I want to make this very clear: we have no affiliate or association with anybody, any company, anything like that. We are loyal to ourselves and we're loyal to Arrow Gaming, which we have created. Myself, Scant, who's in this podcast with me. We are both co-founders of Arrow Gaming, so we have no affiliates to anybody else, no ties to anybody else. So we're completely free to say whatever we want in regards to this. We're not being paid for any of this. Obviously, we wouldn't be because it's very negative in a lot of the ways where it's honesty. So, with that being said, please give it a listen. If you have anything that you would like to say to us, more than welcome to. Negative or positive, please let us know. We're always trying to be better and trying to grow our audience as much as possible. So, hope you guys enjoy. Thanks.
Hello and welcome to the Arrow Gaming Podcast, hosted by myself, Scantalantis, and my co-founder over here, Lunatic Mimic.
Hello. So, we're
Uh,
going to do a little different here. You guys have seen a lot of our funny moments content, our streams, but we wanted to create something a little bit different. This is a podcast, but also it's a video that's going to go up on YouTube later. Essentially, what we want to do is we want to talk about the current issues and news and stuff within gaming. That's
and
what
we want to farm your views as
that
much as
too.
possible.
That too. Please subscribe. We desperately need it. I desperately need it. Extra income is great. And besides, I'm running off of a laptop right now, so a PC would be really nice. Anywho, so the current topic for today is going to be is Call of Duty dying? And I know that this was touched on a lot when MW3 originally came out at the end of 2023, but we want to touch on it now because of the Fortnite deal with Disney and all this other stuff that we kind of noticed some red flags and some things that we're concerned about for the franchise of COD. So we wanted to talk
Hello.
about it. Um, and yeah, so first thing we're going to touch on um, is the current update. So we had the season 2 dropped earlier, and with that, there was a good amount of content, actually. Probably one of the bigger updates we've seen for MW3 so far. And on obviously for MW2, I mean, it was a decently good size compared to those updates that we've had in the past. But what I also noticed was there was a little bit of a lack of other things. So obviously a lot of the stuff was surrounded around the battle pass, which it typically is. With every season, there's a new battle pass, and you play, grind, and all that stuff to get it done. However, it's very well themed around zombies, and if you haven't looked or you don't know anything about it, it is also partnered with AMC's The Walking Dead. So Rick Grimes is in the battle pass. He is
Carl.
a what?
Carl.
Carl. Carl. But he is in the battle pass as the when you buy um when you buy the battle pass, you get him immediately. And we're supposed to be getting another operator, another one from The Walking Dead. I believe it's Machine, if I'm correct. Later on.
Michonne.
Michonne,
Michonne.
sorry. Thank you. Michonne? What did I say?
Yes,
Machine? Machine.
Machine.
Um,
You went too far. Shane is the early season's bad
yes.
guy. That's that
Yes.
guy.
It's Shane. Machine. But so he will be coming up later on or he you got me all messed up now.
He.
She will be coming out later on in the season. So with regards to the battle pass, it looks good. Game modes wise, a little lackluster. And I say that because I'm looking at one of the ones that's called Horde Point, and it's a zombies themed kind of mode within Hardpoint. The issue is it's PvP, and then they throw zombies into it. I
So
see that as
answer
an
me answer
go ahead.
me as someone who hasn't quite played it yet. Is that a Is it is it PvPvE? Like, are there it or are there, or do people play as the zombies?
So how it works is you take a normal hardpoint match. I did one that was on terminal. So you think of the normal hardpoint match on terminal. Well, after I think it was like 15 seconds or so after like we originally got into the hardpoint and started playing it more, little orbs started coming around the map and spawning out zombies from those. So
Ah,
you have to worry about them and also the players.
I
So
like
if
that.
you're see, it's
Sounds
fun.
interesting.
It's fun until you get like we all know skill-based matchmaking. We're going to talk about that too. When you get into skill-based matchmaking, so you're dealing with your sweats, you're dealing with your zombies. It's not fun. If you're on the losing end of that team, it's not a fun time because not only are you focused because the zombies are really they're heavy player focused, but they also like pop up around the hard point. So if you're in
Hmm.
that hard point, you're gonna get slammed. So it's if you already are a player that's more of a casual, like you kind of like to hang out in hard point a little bit, but you also like to step to the side and get people, get kills as they're coming in. It's a little bit rough. The mode itself, like yes, it's fun. It's a little bit, it's different. But it's not something that's like this big ordeal, like like a big update type thing. It's a mode that is enjoyable for one or two times, and then after that it just becomes more annoying because you get into your skill-based matchmaking routine and then you just get these, you could be copper bronze and you're playing against, top 250 players is what it feels like. So that's where I'm like, it's a little interesting, a little different. The other one we got today was the Resurgence quads, obviously back on Fortune's Keep. So copy and paste of a map that we already had. Now hear me out. I'm not mad about it. I'm mad that they didn't bring in another fan favorite map that we've been asking for a long time, which we all know is Verdansk. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, which it's on Call of Duty Mobile. That's all that matters, right? Um, which is funny because they use that to get people to go over to Call of Duty Mobile to play that when we're all like, why don't you just bring
Well,
it
remember,
back?
remember Call of Duty. So Call of Duty Mobile is going to be separate from Call of Duty from Mobile Warzone or Warzone Mobile as they're calling it. Those will not. Those will be separate games that you have. So you're not going to be able to just Call of Duty Mobile will remain its own primary thing, which is actually a pretty fun game. I've played it. It's actually fun. Um, and you could, but if you go into Call of Duty, you go into Warzone Mobile, that's going to be a complete separate app, separate thing on its
Thanks. Thank you. Sorry, I haven't touched it. I haven't also played around with anything to do with the mobile stuff
own. Hmm.
because yeah, I played a little bit of the Fortnite mobile when that first came out, and it's different. Like I'm sorry, it feels like I'm playing on a smaller Nintendo Switch.
Well,
Not a fan.
for me, I just connect a controller to my device, and I'm able to actually
Oh
play
yeah,
Call of Duty Mobile with a controller, and it's it's fun. It's actually legitimately fun. I mean, the graphics, of course, I mean the graphics are different; they're lower, but it feels kind of like you're back in the older games. Call of Duty Mobile has the feeling of back in the good old days. Honestly, it does.
and you know why it's like that because it's. I'm assuming there's not as much weapon customization and other
Oh
stuff that you
no,
could do with
well,
it.
there is actually a. It's not exactly. It's a little bit of a step down from what we currently have as far as attachments, but there are still attachments stuff for the guns. Yes.
And I'm gonna touch on that. So you bring up a good point with that. Um, my first question for you, Mr. Scant. Do you think in the current Call of Duty game, well, actually, let's think of the last two. So we'll do MW2 and MW3. Do
Hmm.
you think that they overcomplicated things more than they needed to be? And I'm referring to like guns
Yeah.
and health and some other stuff. Do you think that they over
Uh,
like
yes and no. So here's the thing: the addition of weapon tuning in the game was a bad call. That what they did in MW2, that was just it was too much because I mean, I what you've reached at this point is I you can't and if people want to try and make the the counterpoint you can try, but if you want to go into Warzone or you want to go into multiplayer and stuff like that, I mean we're at a point where in MW2 if I if I'm not running the MCW, if I'm not running the Rival 9 overall, I'm usually getting outgunned. I pull out, like, if I go into a map with one of the other guns, let's say the Ram 7 that I wanted to try when that came out, but now it was pretty good, but I was getting outgunned by MCWs. I switch over to my MCW class and I'm at top of the leaderboard in the next game. So while I say that what they've done with, I mean, my opinion goes back to the same as it is with Scump and the other guys, is that we need to just go back to the pick 10 system. We don't need people the complication of all of these attachments, which is even worse now in MW. They should have never brought in MW2 attachments into MW3, because the problem is now I have to go through a list of like 100 attachments to find what I'm looking.
And that's the same thing
And
with the guns too. The exact same way with the guns is that they're absolutely pointless to bring over because I'm never going to use the M4 and MW3. Never.
well, yeah, they
I'll
nerfed
never
them. I
use it.
mean,
Yeah.
I've only used MW2 guns in zombies because it's zombies and it doesn't matter. But I mean, in multiplayer, I mean, there is a marked difference between the TAC 56 and M4 and the Ram 7 and the MCW, because the MCW could be described to the M4 because they both have good damage and a high rate of fire. MCW, a little bit of less rate of fire. No, sorry, Ram 7, a little bit of less rate of fire like the TAC 56 did in MW2. The problem is you just have too much stuff and it overcomplicates things. I don't want to get off of college work, get on to Call of Duty, and then need to spend the next few minutes figuring out what's the daily meta. Now, you're gonna have people who are gonna hear this and say, "Well, okay, you're just trying to play the meta that you don't." Well, that's the problem with MW3. You do. Unless you're just someone who's naturally uber good at the game, which is not everybody. And Call of Duty has even admitted to the fact that's why they're keeping SBMM in and hidden MMR in as well, because the vast majority of their player base, while it may not be the most vocal, the silent majority in Call of Duty is your casual gamer. And we just want to get on and shoot. We want to shoot our guns, play with our buddies, and hang out. We don't want to treat every match. I'm not going to go into Overwatch, but it's a similar problem Overwatch is having, that we don't want to get on and have to feel like we're playing competitive in a casual setting. That's not a fun thing to do.
And
And
that's
that's
the issue.
why,
That's a
yeah, it is.
major issue. And that's just because, like, what you just said right there is skill, as far as your skill based matchmaking and your silent majority. And that's where the issue I'm seeing with a lot of this stuff that's coming out that's tailored in COD is it is strictly focused for one group only. Skill based matchmaking does not help anybody. It doesn't. It makes your new players not want to play the game because what happens is they could have a really good game. They could be better than the other new player that just started. You
Skill-based matchmaking needs to be more tuned. That everyone constantly wants to just say it has to be one or the other. Like, it has to be skill-based matchmaking or it has to be not. That's not the case. It needs to be better tuned. Because right now, you are saying, you'll have one match where you're good, and then it's like turning from, it's like you're in the shower and you're getting cold water. So naturally, a human turns up a little bit, but skill-based matchmaking in Call of Duty immediately goes all the way to the left over to hot.
110%. And that's what the issue is that like it's not and I say this because we just actually had this a little bit ago when we were playing with the update when it came out, is we had a game where myself and my other teammate, buddy of mine, we popped off, did great, top leaderboard. Next game, absolutely demolished. Felt like we were playing, ranked 250 players. But here's the thing. Here's my contrary to you, though, of what you're saying as far as doesn't have to be one or the other. It could be nothing. And the caveat to that is it would you could in like there already is a ranked play system. There has been for the last couple CODs.
Mm-hmm.
Push those people who want to be sweats over to ranked play to where it actually would matter. And that's the
You
thing is that
can't
in
force
these
people though. You
I
can't
know.
force
I know,
people to
but
go
what I'm
over to
saying is like give
competitive.
better rewards or do something better to where okay, This person is going into regular lobbies that feel like bots to them, and they're absolutely getting demolished. Like I have clips upon clips on TikTok about me going into shipment and like just absolutely team wiping people, and then the next game I don't record it because why? I get destroyed.
Hmm.
So it's like there's no happy middle. I agree with you about the fact that it needs to be fine tuned. I 110% agree with that. But I also agree with like I know it was bad on BO2. Like there was some sweaty lobbies, and that was like the big, insult back then was, oh, you're nothing but a sweat. You're over there sweating, aren't you? It's like, sometimes people were just naturally good at the game. But
Hmm.
something that a buddy of mine pointed out, and I completely agree with this statement, is you should not have to get into lobbies to where you're getting destroyed so hard that you're questioning if they're actually cheating or not. That's the other thing too.
Yeah. I mean, yeah,
Like
you have. I mean, yeah.
like you could have good skill, but when you're like, this is just ridiculous. Why is this happening? You can blame skill based matchmaking for it. You in a lobby with somebody who is 10 times better, who does nothing else with their day, no school, no job, nothing. They sit at home and that's all they do all day. Because then your casual 9 to 5 player who's going to probably put more money in the game than, combined than one or two sweats is going to do, or maybe not put enough in the game. Whatever the actual value of that 9 to 5 player actually is, they're not going to want to play it because it's not
Yeah.
enjoyable. A
And
game
that's
is
what and that's
good.
what they put out just to say that's what they put out recently, and that the people who have the non sweats spend if they're spending more time in the game, they're spending more money on the game.
And that's exactly true. But here's the other thing too, though. Why can't we go back to the times where you didn't have to like? Okay, I get that in-game purchases are a big deal. I completely understand that.
Yeah.
But my question I'm wondering is why is it so hard for us to just have a game where we don't have to worry so much about micro purchases in a game? And and I say it because there are times where there's an issue. Like if you are such a big company and you put out these micro purchases, you should not be pulling a character skin because it's overpowered. That should not mean anything. That statement should not exist. Because what happened? We had the rose skin issue. We had, as we call it, the Groot skin issue.
Hmm.
Um, we had that one that got pulled for months. It
Hmm.
just now got brought back in.
Yeah.
And we have, and for whatever issues, whether it's hitbox, whether it's just density of the operator, whatever it may be, height, whatever. That's where it's like, okay, have we gone too far with these in-game purchases to where we have to pull a product because it's being overpowered in a certain way? Where this person who plays this skin is 9 times more likely to not get hit by a bullet because of the hitbox is too small. And, other games have these issues, but it's with things that they have put in the game. Like, I'll use Ash in Rainbow Six Siege as an example.
Saying
That,
the exact same thing.
yep, Ash has a small hitbox. She's a very tinier, petite operator. She has a smaller hitbox than somebody who's bigger, maybe. And that makes perfect sense because that person's smaller. But when you look at all these hundreds of operator skins, this one gets used the most because it's broken.
Hmm.
That shouldn't be a thing. To
Yeah.
rely on in-game purchases for your other source of revenue aside from your main game revenue, it says a lot. And I miss the days where you could just buy a season pass for like BO2 or BO3 and you would get everything included. If you wanted weapon skins, there was like 15 different ones to choose from. You could just buy. That was it. No
Yeah.
operator customization, none of that stuff. But these companies got greedy, Activision being the main one along with Fortnite, because I think Fortnite technically started doing it before Activision actually did with COD.
More or
If I'm
less, yeah.
correct.
They
I'll
were
say
they were
same time.
trending in that. Call of Duty was trending in that direction, but Fortnite took it the extra mile.
And obviously, Fortnite saw major success with this, and it's been a thing. Like you can look at the what was it? What just came out? The Peter Griffin skin from Family Guy. That's been all over my For You page about him being in the game. And it's like, okay, that's fun, that's cool. But like what they're adding in isn't anything like it's not something that's like a major ordeal to add in. Like having a person from The Walking Dead. It's kind of cool. Having Rick Grimes, it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But to what extent is somebody going to actually go, I'm going to buy the battle pass just for that skin? Who is
There
going to?
are some. There are. I know one person who did. There are some big Walking Dead fans that will do it. And here's the thing: Rick Grimes is an example of a character in popular media that absolutely belongs in the Call of Duty universe, especially Modern Warfare 3, because he's a character that is, and Michonne too. Both of them, they are characters that are linked to military aspects because uh I didn't watch enough with Michonne. I don't know if I maybe was she a lawyer. I don't remember. But in in the series, the predominant of it, she's very effective with weaponry, and Ray Grimes is a former sheriff. So you have the aspect that they're both linked to combat, and neither of them they both look like they belong there. And then on top of that, Modern Warfare 3, of course, has Modern Warfare Zombies, and both of them are in The Walking Dead. That makes perfect sense.
Then explain
This
to me.
collab with Walking Dead makes perfect sense.
See, I agree with that. I don't agree with Doom or Dune. Sorry.
Dune. Dune is absolutely a cash grab because
Hmm.
Dune itself wants to promote itself on Call of Duty. So they're promoting it through that because of the new movie coming out. And Call of Duty, and I'll admit, I bought one of the Dune skins. It's a cool skin, especially run. I mean, running it was the first one, the white one. I'm running around zombies in third person and shooting zombies in it because it's a cool looking skin. Yeah, sure, but I think they've gone a bit over the one skin, the one little thing. That's one thing, but now all of this. It's like I mean, literally when I saw it, it's like when I'm looking at it right now, the roadmap, and I was looking through. It's like, ooh, Walking Dead, Dune Part 2. Okay, ooh, events. That was literally how it went through my brain.
Exactly. And so like, and I'm using like the example of like, you have to buy the battle pass to get this operator skin.
Hmm.
Like, I don't think that you should be able to do this. Say like what Fortnite does though. I like what they do. They give you stuff in the battle pass, obviously, but they also give you bundles outside. They rotate their store. I like what they do a little bit better with that because there's some like rarity to items as well. But also the game has been around, for years opposed to every COD cycling through. Every year is something different, something new that where it's, there's no, you can bring a weapon skin over from, MW2 into
Hmm.
3 CODs from now and be like, oh, that's rare. But like, it's little things like that, doing, and I like the crossovers. Like, don't get me wrong. Some of the crossovers are very fun to do, but some of them really flop.
Hmm.
One example I have is when they originally did the Boys crossover, the Amazon Prime series.
I see. I
It
feel
was,
like that was better done than people give it credit for.
I think so. I think the original one was better done. I think the original one was way better done because they put it
Hmm.
into its own Warzone mode. Okay.
Yeah,
Warzone being a bigger map, being more at stake here, it's a BR setting. That's what they originally did. I found it very fun. I found it very enjoyable. I found a lot of replay with that because, obviously you want to win and, you get your different chances with your different abilities and such. I found it fun. I didn't like it when they just did it because they put it in
I
strictly a
played it once.
multiplayer mode that already I was pissed off with multiplayer. They put it in there and you add in skill-based matchmaking with that mode, just god awful. I didn't even play a full match. I went in and said this is ridiculous and I left because it's like why? I
Yeah,
want to
I don't.
see what community form was filled out by people to put it in multiplayer.
Yeah, I
I
want to
want to
see that
know.
too. Because my thing, I think they just didn't want to go through the work of adapting it to the Modern Warfare, I mean, to the Warzone map. But the thing is, it was the size of the Warzone map, like you said, that made it fun. The jumping and the I know there was jumping, there was laser eyes. I forget what the
There was the
others.
fly one or whatever where you got shot up in the air.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, that was different than jump, but still, regardless, there were different ones and they were fun. But the size of the Warzone map made it fun. Multiplayer maps way too small.
Yeah, way too small. It was way too like fast paced and like especially since you're already worried about like and this is like a weird anxiety talk here. Now we're gonna get. already going to deep in the anxiety and your thoughts and feelings here, but like it's also the anxiety thing of like you get into it, like you play a multiplayer game. You're constantly either cycling through loadouts, you're cycling through guns, trying to find out what works for you, going, oh, this just got nerfed. Oh, this is buffed now. Oh, this is nerfed. This is nerfed. And you go into a mode like that and you're like, oh, well, that was me. I got into the mode, went, what gun is going to work for this? I tried every gun and said, this is not going to work. I cannot do this mode. And
Well,
it's like,
beyond that, yeah, I mean, you have the year. I mean, you have the season thing anywhere where Call of Duty adds a new gun. Gun is overpowered. Then everyone gets on to try the overpowered gun. Then they nerf.
yeah. So that's the other thing too, is that that's also what happened today too. They're constantly tuning weapons. How my question is like, well, I'll go back to it, but my thought is too is you mentioned new gun. Look at what they gave us in the battle pass. If you actually take a look at the battle pass guns,
Hmm.
it is the let me see if I can find it here.
It's the
It
BP-50 and the Ram 9.
Ram 9. You
Hmm.
mean the Ram 7 that we already
Chambered
had?
in 9 millimeter. Chambered in nine
That we already
millimeter.
had. That you
Yeah.
should have, according to what Call of Duty originally talked about with the aftermarket system. That gun should have been able to be put in as a SMG.
Yeah.
That's the other thing too. It's that they're going to give us content that we have to pay for, or we have to learn in the battle pass, because I don't even know what's technically free in the battle pass. Let me look here. I don't see anything actually free. I might be completely wrong here.
No, there are several free things. There are quite a few free things in the battle pass.
Are the weapons free?
The new yeah, both new weapons are free.
Okay,
Both the
so that
Ram
takes out
9
that.
and the BP-70 are free. Every pretty much every tier has one free thing in it. That's how they're doing it.
And see, that's
For
fine.
example, tier B14 has free COD points. B13 has a free weapon skin. Um, I mean, there's quite a few. Sector B11 has a free assassination. So every sector has something that's free. So
And then you get the Black Cell version where you get the specialty variants of
yeah.
these other operators. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, this is a giant battle pass room map, all that fun stuff. Go take a look for it on Twitter. Um, but that's just it. Like they're with the guns like that they brought out, like that one. That's a big one that I'm upset about, because it's like let's take a gun that we already have and let's make you get it in battle pass, when relatively speaking, aftermarket parts, you should have been able to get it as an SMG. Because aftermarket parts,
Thing.
there's only a hand few out there that actually do it.
Hmm.
And that wasn't what we as a player got when we were watching those videos and looking at all the intel that was coming out for it. We didn't get that feeling that it was going to be a select few guns have aftermarket parts. We were like, okay, most of them will. There's like a handful that actually do. And it's a little
Hmm.
disappointing to see. But we're going to switch off the topic from that. Um, Big one to talk about is what broke earlier today or yesterday, whenever you're listening to this or watching this, was the news that Disney is going into a venture with Fortnite owner Epic Games. So, what exactly does this mean? What exactly does this look like for those of you that are actually watching the video versus listening to it on podcast on Spotify? You can look and see what I'm talking about here. So essentially, what it is they are going into, and this was Disney doing it. Actually, it wasn't even with Epic. Didn't like really kind of do it. It was Disney that was like, hey, we're going into venture with Epic Games. So Disney already has a couple games put out. Dreamlight Valley being one of them. Obviously, you have like some minor mobile games here and there, amongst their other media outlets and other stuff. But what is happening is they're taking their intellectual rights that Disney actually owns, and they're putting it in combination with Fortnite.
Hmm.
Um, the actual, let me find it really quickly here, so I can read it verbatim. What the post actually says from, and this is IGN, everybody has the exact same word on this. Disney buys $1.5 billion stake in Epic Games to create expansive universe within Fortnite. This includes anything that is Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, Avatar, and more. So
Hmm.
this is you're looking at all the Avatar characters. You're looking at Star Wars. You're looking at Marvel, which you know Iron Man, Captain America, Hulk, Black Widow, all those guys. Pixar. So that's Toy Story. That is any of your little or more cartoonish. That's your Pixar guys. So what they want to do is they want to create a universe that is within Fortnite on the Unreal Engine. They want to create this universe that is very expansive in what it has to offer. So if we look at what Fortnite already has, you have their regular BR, you have their expansive amount, like huge amount of custom games that they have created that are player created, dev created, whatever. You have Lego Fortnite that just came out a couple months ago. You have their like rock band type game mode that just came out also a couple months ago. Um, and didn't you say they were doing a racing game too, if I'm correct? Or some other stuff that they were doing, Scant?
They've already released the racing game. It's on there too. The thing about Disney's already done this.
Hmm.
That's what people might not remember, but Disney was one of the three companies, along with Lego and Skylanders, that tried to do the whole let's make our own universal game with little toys. But they already tried. They already did. Now, granted, this time they're piggybacking on something that's already been successful. While when Disney did it last time, they were kind of piggyback on something that dying, just like Lego did. But the point is, Disney's already Disney has in the past put out like their own game set in its own little universe.
But now we're combining that with the community that already is around Fortnite. And that's what a lot of, I'm reading through this post on IGN. Um, Disney was one of the first companies to believe in the potential of bringing their own worlds together with ours in Fortnite. Um, and they use Unreal Engine across their portfolio. So essentially, like Disney's bringing in the Unreal Engine. Sorry, I may misspoke there. Sorry, somebody yell at me. Somebody slap me for it. I was saying Fortnite used Unreal Engine. No, it's Disney that's used Unreal Engine. I apologize if I might be completely wrong on that too, but that's what I'm reading. Apologize for that. Um, but essentially, what they want to do is they want to bring these environments and these worlds together. Um, and that's the other thing too is I'm looking at this picture. I mean, I see Stitch on the right. Like I'm looking at this big picture that looks like the like if you look at a map of like Walt Disney World, I see this whole environment where it's like I see Wreck-It Ralph, I see Nightmare Before Christmas, I see all of the ESPN stuff too because I forgot Disney owns ESPN. Um, there's some Disney Plus stuff in there too. It looks like there's, all these different icons that people already know and love, and then being able to bring that like into a environment of like Fortnite is incredible. And to what extent, I don't
Yeah.
know. It's not going to
To
be
the
it's not going to be just skins. It's not.
No, no, no,
This is
no. They
going to be
want to do
some
more.
very, 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 very $1.5 billion big deal. Um, so what were you about to say, Scan? Sorry.
Well, I was gonna say exactly what you said. I don't think it's going to be just the skins because they've already done some of those. Most likely, they because Fortnite has made it clear that because Fortnite has basically decided to become a hub for battle royale, rhythm, and racing in one game, and Minecraft Survival. So what to play all of that, you would have to have the most recent Rock Band or Guitar Hero, which came out on the Xbox One, which was fun, by the way. To anyone who says otherwise, blah on you, but I had fun with it. You have then Forza, then Warzone, we'll say, and Minecraft. All of those now, wrap them up, stick them in Fortnite. So Fortnite is building itself out to be its own games within game kind of dealio. Like how in the past you would see like, or even these days with the Namco Museum games, right? Fortnite's trying to be, and it's very creative, and it's probably going to do well for them because they've proved that they have a business design and an engine that works, and frankly, uh, they've shown. I mean, there's still the fact that it's a live service game, and that's the biggest thing with it is that since it's still a live service game, that's free. Unlike Call of Duty, which more than half of that of Call of Duty is locked behind a paywall. So yeah,
100%.
it's just
And and we look at
Fortnite is
like the Rock
posed in a
Band.
very good position.
Oh, they are. They set themselves like I remember years ago when Fortnite originally came out that it was like, oh, it's just a BR. And like at the time you had what PUBG, you had Blackout from the Black Ops series and Call of Duty, and you had a couple other minor competitors. And obviously everything else died out, except for Warzone that stayed prominent in or that stayed known in 2019, which that, and then you had a COVID right after it, just made that game just soar through, and Warzone just became a phenomenon, and it was great. Um, but a lot of people said Fortnite wasn't going to make it. A lot of them were like, this whole battle royale thing died out, and dude, I will say the directing board over at Epic did a wonderful job with that and going, let's do something different then. If battle royale is not all what people want to play, and that's something that I thought about too, is, and someone said this earlier, and I again agree with it completely. It's if you have somebody that wants to play Fortnite and they don't want to play BR, there's three other modes to play. There's three other
Yeah.
things to do that is not even related to playing actual BR. Not to
Mhm.
mention the hundreds of thousands of mini games that can be played and all this
Well,
other
and
fun stuff.
yep, and let me move in on that with one other opinion that the Call of Duty community has never had. But what is Overwatch, Halo, and Fortnite? Those three games have something in common, and that is that all three give the players a sandbox that allows them to make their own things. And Call of Duty has never embraced that. Imagine if Call of Duty had an entire thing where you could go in and actually make your own game. Battlefield tried. Battlefield 2042 tried to have that. The problem was Battlefield 2042 was dead on delivery because the game released in a horrible state with a horrible system in place. But they even tried to do something like that, and that was a mode that probably had some of the most interest and still does, even though it's a pretty dead game.
And
But
see, but
Call
you
of
say the
Duty's never even done
sandbox.
that.
And see, I agree with the sandbox idea. I like, and that's something that I was kind of hinting at a little bit there. We're talking about Fortnite and like all this other stuff, and yeah, and Overwatch is because I've never played Overwatch until more recently, and realizing how many different like what did we play the other night? Uno. We played
Yeah,
Uno in Overwatch. It's like
and it's fun.
it's like you got to be kidding me. Like, how is this able to be done? But yet we're playing the same Call of Duty game over and over, year after year, and nothing ever changes. We never get anything new that we are really as a community, and I say this because this podcast and this whole entire video and all this stuff, this is by gamers. Like we are actual
Yeah,
gamers. Some of us
I'm
have
not
9 to 5.
sponsored by Call of Duty.
No, we're not sponsored by anybody, so we are free to say whatever the hell we want. Call of Duty has not put out anything new and exciting in a long time. Let's all be
Do you know
honest here.
why? Do you know
Why?
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 Call of Duty started to die the moment Battlefield died. Pure
You
and
know what?
simple.
That actually makes a lot of sense. Because
Because
right
they were
after
yeah. Fortnite's biggest competitor was PUBG, and so they kept on. And PUBG may not get as much talking anymore, but PUBG is still a fun game, and it still has a player base. It still has people playing it. So
PUBG
you
still
still
has
have
a
the
player base that's higher than Call of Duty according to Steam charts currently.
there you
Actually.
go. So you still have the fact that Fortnite has other battle royales that are pushing it forward. Um, Halo is a niche, but you see this though. Games that do not have a valid competitor die.
Yep.
Because the fact is, I played Call of Duty and Battlefield. I played PUBG and Fortnite for a time, and I enjoyed both. Because the gamers over here, they make a big we love to make a big fuss. It's like Trekkies and Star Wars fans. We love to go at each other, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna watch both. If I'm feeling like sci-fi, it just depends on the particular mood. If and back when you had Battlefield 4 and I forget what the Call of Duty was during Battlefield 4 was Black Ops or whatever. Anyway, you played
Black Ops
both
2, I believe.
because
Yeah.
yeah, because you played both because you didn't really hate the other. There were people who did that. You need to grow up, but no one really hated the other game. We like to go at each other because that's what gamers do. But what you had were two game franchises, and that's Battlefield and Call of Duty, that pushed each other to do better. Because if one fell down, the other would move up, and they knew that, so they had to push each other forward, and thus both were good. But Battlefield started to die with 5 and 2042, and
Yep.
Call of Duty became. What else are you going to do if you want a mainstay first person shooter? What are you going to play right now besides Call of Duty? What is it?
Currently, at the moment, if I'm correct, isn't it's not Apex. What am I? Oh my gosh,
No,
help me
the,
out
the
here.
answer is there's nothing. The answer is there's nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the moment. You have little things like, because Apex has a very different playstyle than Call of Duty. So trying to scratch the itch with that isn't going to work. Siege, Call of Duty players who are like who enjoy the more fast pace are not going to feel at home in Siege. I can enjoy both because I kind of enjoy a slower playstyle at times, but even me, I find the more I play Call of Duty, the little bit less I enjoy Siege.
Yep.
And so that's the thing. Our hope right now is whenever Ubisoft decides to release X Defiant, because they are
Yep.
taking they're taking their time to create something worthwhile. I mean, you even had CDL pros not playing Call of Duty and playing X Defiant during its last beta. So, and they were talking about how it felt like old Call of Duty again. So, with some of the mechanics of modern. So that's the thing. Call of Duty, like anything, competition breeds a bigger push to make something of quality to outplay your competitor. That's what Call of Duty does not have right now.
Yeah, they haven't done it. I mean, yes, they with if I'm recalling correctly, 2042 came out when it wasn't supposed to, right? That got pushed for the release date, if I'm correct,
2040,
right?
2042 had several pushes, and they made a lot of decisions that made a lot of us really unhappy.
Yep, and that's the thing with like when it used to be, we've been in this cycle with game developers within under the Activision umbrella. And not necessarily speaking that like the game like do is there blame to put on Activision? 100%. Activision is the one that they are the publishing title for these games. It is their problem if the games suck because they
Yeah.
did something or they approved something that they shouldn't have. Are there some there are bad devs or bad managers and leaders in these areas that are letting some of this stuff slide by? Hell yeah. At the same time, though, and this is something that you kind of touched on a little bit with that as far as the enjoyment aspect of things. We are talking about video games here.
Yeah.
Video games were meant to bring joy to people for entertainment purposes, to have fun with. They can grow. They can go into esports, which we'll talk about in a little bit. They can go into these other things, but a video game is supposed to be fun. When
Yeah.
you take things and you overly complicate them to the point to where they don't make any sense, you don't understand what is going on around you. You don't like, I'm referring to like skill-based matchmaking and all these other weapon tuning, weapon attachments, all this other stuff. And some of the you kind of touched on was weapon tuning. Congratulations, Scant. You don't have weapon tuning in the COD, but you have 100 plus fucking sites for your, MCW that you don't need.
I don't know which is worse.
I don't know. I liked how fine tuning was, but I also hate it because if I wanted, like, if I was, oh, I tuned it the wrong way for this, you see a little bit of a change. But
Hmm.
I will take that. Honestly, you know what? I'll take weapon tuning back over these useless attachments that we don't need. And I
Hmm.
say that because, like, if you're gonna do a new game, like, I get the whole like, and that was the other thing too that they pushed was like, oh, the whole carry forward system. Everything you bought in MW2 will carry forward into MW3.
Yeah, we
Great.
all know why, because this wasn't supposed to be MW3.
Yeah, because this wasn't supposed to be a full game. This was supposed to be a add-on to the game, which is also what's irritating me too. Is that what they're doing is they're continuously doing yearly titles for Call of Duty. Fortnite doesn't have to do that.
No.
How is it? And I'm pulling it up right now, and you guys will see it on screen too. How is it that currently on Call of Duty, and this is just from Steam. I want to make this very clear. These numbers are just strictly from Steam. These are not adding up all the other players
BattleNet,
on.
Xbox, PlayStation.
Yep, this is not add up, but just on Steam alone, because this is the numbers we could actually pull. There is 100,000 current Call of Duty players right now. Tell me why On Fortnite itself, there is 900,000. Earlier when we checked this before we started doing this recording session, that was at 1.2 million people playing Fortnite. Tell me why that a game that comes out every single year, and these numbers, and as far as the Call of Duty number, that tracks from MW2, Warzone, and MW3. Over
Yeah, because it's just
two,
people playing in the loader at the moment, which is the Call of Duty loader.
yep. In those two separate games that you have to pay $70 for each game, in those two separate games, and then the one mode Warzone, there is only 100,000 current. And again, and I say that because so looking at Fortnite's numbers, that's combined through all the systems. Call of Duty could be there, but they are
Mhm.
nowhere close to those numbers that they are currently getting. We don't even talk about Power World still having 537,000 on just Steam alone. We don't talk about
Yep.
that. It's way more than that. We all know that they sold over 19 million last week,
Yeah,
which means they're probably in the 20s by now.
probably.
Um, but we don't even mention that. But that's something that is this game active or
But we
Microsoft
should
now.
mention that for a minute. We should mention that for a minute. And do you know why?
Why?
Because Pal World is doing to Pokemon what X Defiant needs to do to Call of Duty. People are playing Pal
Yep.
World and they're realizing that they have been fed underdeveloped trash. I'm not saying all Pokemon is trash, but they've been no, not trash, but they've been fed bare minimum underdeveloped games by Nintendo for years with Pokemon. Games that have that and this is not just me saying this. I've watched videos and read articles and talked to people who are way more Pokemon fans than myself. How Pal World, when they play it, they see their eyes are open to how minimal and just let down Pokemon has been feeling for them.
It's like the saying where oh, they always say the grass is greener on the other side, but it never actually is. In this case, it actually is. The
Yeah,
grass is
yeah,
greener on the
exactly.
other side, 100%.
And
And
so
I fully agree with that because if you look at the updates that we've been getting every single time, and this is just it it irritates me. It eats at me when they do this. Every time Call of Duty puts out an update, okay, we're talking a big update. There is a small sample pool that goes through and that they see these updates, okay? There
Mhm.
is a small pool. If not, correct me if I'm wrong, but to my knowledge, there is a small sample pool that see these updates before we do.
Yeah,
How
this
is
a
it?
lot of the CDL pros get to play on updates ahead of time because what they have to do is they have to decide if or when, like for example, the most recent update that we are playing on, the CDL pros have not been playing on this update that we have been on for weeks now because they just made the decision and the CDL made the decision to continue playing on the last update instead of upgrading. Now, granted, it was because they were leading up, but still, that was the decision they made because they had it early.
And the reason I say this is because something that I noticed a little bit ago when I did ranked play. Tell me how. And I know Microsoft has a hand in this now a little bit, but not necessarily because they're still hiring and firing people. Okay. But a serious note. Tell me how two updates, massive updates, both mid-season for season one and season two updates, both have minor issues that when you go to do a creative class for ranked play, you do not get the correct weapons that you're shown and other stuff like attachments and your perks. Tell me why. It's little things like that that irritate me, little bugs that they don't notice. I mean, we don't even talk about the text graphic issues when the game launched first on multiplayer. When the game
Oh
actually came out post the campaign early preview, the game was just absolutely a joke.
yeah, completely. And you
How
could
is it
show
still
the
happening though? Like these bugs, these glitches are still happening. There are still text issues happening to this day with new modes that they put in. How is this being allowed to happen? When you're a multi-billion-dollar game company, how is this
yeah,
allowed to happen?
and you can show people on the video itself this if you go into the battle pass and you go to I mean, I found this in seconds.
Where
So
is
you
it?
can't. This is why. Hold before I tell you what it is. This problem is why I agree with them firing almost all the quality assurance testers at Activision Blizzard because they were clearly not doing their job. Because this was not just happening now. This was happening before the firings too. So if you go into the battle and you go up in the top left corner to the Horde Hunt event that's going on, and you go down one toggle, you go from Epic Ether Tool to a blank screen. So I don't know what 155 bones gets me. It gets me some zombies. I don't know what it is.
Oh. Oh, I know. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I see it.
Same for 310 bones. I wonder what 310 bones gets me. Oh, 625 gives me an Epic Ether Tool. Oh, 1,250 white. I get a white screen. What does a white screen do? I don't know. 5,000,
Crashes your
same
game.
thing. Yeah, maybe. For all I know. But it's clearly not just something because you have over here a card that I can see and cursed ammo I can see. So clearly there's something wrong with those things. And that should have been fixed before release.
And
That
we say
should
this.
not be something that is not something they should have seen that before release. What they probably did is they did and they don't care. They just wanted to get the release out there, so they just released it and they don't care.
And I'll say this too. So since the entire time we've been sitting here on this recording session for this podcast episode, I have sat here and sat through, I think, 3 different updates and playlist updates.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
3 different minor updates that have come out that apparently haven't fixed those issues. And
Uh-huh.
that's what I'm saying though. Like this is stuff that like is minor polishing that shouldn't be there. But now you know what the fix is for that? Go to zombies and then it'll show up. But you shouldn't have to do that. Like it's little nitpick things that we see as gamers going, this doesn't look good. It's like if you walk into a new restaurant and you see all this nice stuff, and then it's like, huh, if your menu items are missing. Why is that? Oh, we just haven't put them up yet. You're open, right? How am I supposed to know what you're going to what I can buy from you or what I can get from you if you don't tell me what it is? That
Oh yeah,
doesn't
you're
look good.
right.
You don't want to go back to that. But yet we sit here year after year and we buy this game and we play it and we talk about it and we hate ourselves for it and we get mad at our friends for it and we get mad at ourselves for it because we feel like we're not doing enough when it's the game doing it to us because
Yeah.
we cannot enjoy the game like it was supposed to be created for. These games are not created to be solely competitive to where you're putting all of your life's work into these games to play. You're not. The silent majority is the working class 9 to 5, the dad that wants to come home, or the guy who's been working his butt off and he wants to come home and he wants to play some Call of Duty with his friends and have fun. There's no fun in that. If you're going into games and you're getting absolutely demolished, there's no fun in that. When you go in here and you want to go look at something in the event tab, it's broken. We don't even talk about Battle Pass last year. Oh wait, I wonder if it does it this time. Okay, it doesn't. When you last for season 1 with the battle pass, there was a top left that same spot last season. You would click on it, it would send you back to the home screen. It's things like
Yeah.
that where it's like, why? Switching off of that topic, we're gonna switch over to the CDL stuff. And obviously with this, with if you guys haven't been paying attention to the news, or if you just genuinely don't know, don't care, this is the first time you're hearing about this. Call of Duty a couple weeks ago, they let go their entire Activision let go of their
Almost all but 12. All but 12
all but 12.
of their esports division for the CDL is gone.
Yep. So which essentially and this was what everything came out to be was that it was Microsoft that did it, obviously with the big acquisition, all this other stuff. You know, we don't know. That's rumor speculation. We're not entirely too sure, but this is what we know is that Microsoft laid off. It was it was like 60 something of 80 people, if I'm correct. So it wasn't a big group, but it's still a good number to where it would actually affect it. But what this essentially means is, Scant, my in-house CDL person, what does this mean to the actual viewer and listener?
So the actual viewer and listener should look at this in two light. Number one, most likely we are witnessing the death of the CDL, which is a good thing. And here's why I'm going to say that. So a good and bad thing. If you are like me, in which case you got into the CDL because of the franchise. That's how I got it. I knew about teams like Optic and FaZe, sure. I knew that there was competitive esports, sure. But I wasn't really into it. Then queue up Modern Warfare 2019. I'm a Texan, so I just play Modern Warfare 2019, and I look and I see the the Call of Duty League, and I go in and oh, there's a Dallas team that's here in Texas. There's only one Texas team, so that's basically my team. And so I get the skin and I start using it, and then I start watching and I root for my team. And then I get invested. So on the one hand, if you were really invested in your whole team, you might be disappointed. But on the other hand, the fact is that if you have just remained in the Call of Duty League environment, you are going to probably not like necessarily. You're probably going to be fearful. But if you've expanded your view a bit and seen what Call of Duty esports used to be with the CWL, the Call of Duty World League, and what it did in MLG, which is what people want to come back again. The majority, even the pros, want. What that had was a much more open-ended environment. So what you're going to see most likely, and I spoke to Lunatic here about this before we got in, so I'm just going to say it again now. You had Microsoft come in with a for its own thing. Halo in of itself has a smaller player base anyway, so you can't look at the viewership numbers of the Halo Champions, which is the Halo esports. You can't look at that and compare it to the CDL on a 1-to-1 because the player base for Halo is less. Which, granted, Halo Infinite didn't have the cleanest launch, but it's much better than and I've been having a lot more fun on it than Call of Duty anyway. So, but regardless, to competitive talk, you can't take the viewership. But they've had steady viewership. They have people who like watching it, but they have an open-ended situation, which is where if you get you and 3 other buddies together and you as a four-man want to go compete, you can. And if you're good enough, you'll get up on the main stage against FaZe, Optic, Space Station Gaming, and the rest. Because you were good enough to get there. You can just walk in. But how they've done it, how Activision did it, is they wanted to do franchising. They wanted to go they wanted to try and be the NFL or the NBA. And so you have towns and cities and states represented in Call of Duty and Overwatch. Well, Overwatch League is dead. That thing is dead in the ground, buried in cold. And now we have the Overwatch Champion Series. And most likely, you're going to see the death of the CDL too. Because here's another thing that a lot of people don't know. When the CDL was launched, every franchise had to pay millions of dollars for that franchise. And they've had to defer payments for years because the teams couldn't pay. And the CDL couldn't just say, well, if you can't pay out, because guess what? If the team's left, there isn't a CDL. So they had to just say, okay, you can pay us later and defer payments. So the CDL has been operating under a deficit, under debt this whole time, and unable to pay. And that's why you've seen the flip-flop between YouTube deals, Twitch deal, YouTube deal. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Because they're floundering. And meanwhile, you have Microsoft and Xbox sitting over here like, we have Halo, which operates with a minimal team and a minimal budget, and it operates fine. And you guys over here at Activision Blizzard are dumping millions into 2 leagues that the viewer base has been going downhill. And it takes you how many people to run? Oh, no. We're cutting all that. And so
And that's
you as the viewer should look at this, and I'll wrap it up my monologue. You as the viewer should look at this as you are going to, if the CDL dies, here's what I'm going to say. If Microsoft lets it live out its last year and the Call of Duty League dies after this year, here's what you should look forward to. You should look forward to more of everything, more games, more matches, more tournaments. Because what that's going to do, you have teams on the horizon that are circling and they're waiting for a piece of the pie. TSM wants to bring their Call of Duty. They want to get back into Call of Duty. Complexity. There's rumors of the old giants Complexity looking at Call of Duty. Other teams, Fnatic, other teams overseas, Fnatic, I forget the team that's associated with Kia, but there are teams all over the world that are looking at what's happening and be like, we're ready to come back in. So that means more skill, more players, more teams to root for, and more things happening. And that is nothing but to look forward to. Because the main thing we've gotten from the Call of Duty League, because we haven't seen a real big uptick in professionalism. All we've seen is, oh, it's a team from my area, and I have some skins from, like, let's say Optic Texas or Atlanta FaZe or Toronto Ultra, which all these teams could have simply existed anyway. So
Yep. No, I agree.
yeah, if you're looking at the death of the Call of Duty, look at it in a good sense, because yes, it's sad these people lost their jobs. Yes, it is. It's never a good thing when someone loses their job, but job loss happens, and so what you should look at is what is going to happen for me, the viewer or the enjoyer of Call of Duty esports. I think it's not. I mean, if the Overwatch Champion Series, which is what's replacing the Overwatch League, I mean, that has been met with nothing but approval. Basically, people are like so excited, and they need to just do the same exact thing for Call of Duty. Call of Duty Champion Series, the CCS. Boom, there you go.
There you go. All right, so we have got a couple minutes left here. We're gonna wrap it up. So to recap everything, Call of Duty, and obviously for the title of this podcast and this video, Call of Duty is dying out. We've seen a loss in player base. We've seen a loss of replayability, and that goes into everything currently. Skill based matchmaking is ruining that for a lot of people. We look at the zombies replayability, and I'm not going to get into the zombies topic right now. And what that whole storyline mumbo jumbo is right now that we currently see. But we look at Call of Duty as a whole, as a major game title. You say Call of Duty, you know exactly what you're talking about. It's not one of those, oh, I've heard of that, never seen anything about it. No, you've seen something about Call of Duty. It's everywhere. It is very hard to miss. Call of Duty as a whole needs to focus on listening to their player base. So, and I think Microsoft is going to do a good job with that. I think I would
They have
hope
with Halo. They have with
I
Halo.
and I would hope they would
Halo's
do the same with this.
yeah.
So overall, they need to listen to their players. They need to listen to what the players want in the game, or they're going to see a continuing decline in returning players, and they're going to see an incline in other, um, especially when Ubisoft releases that FPS shoot. It's going to be it's
I'm
the
going over
fact.
there.
Yep, no, I'll play it,
I'll
and
yeah.
you know what? I've actually thought about going back over to Fortnite and playing whatever they have to offer because what I'm
Me
seeing
a
is
little less
nothing.
so, but
Oh, I know. Oh, I know. You just like Fortnite for many different reasons, but we don't talk about it. But looking at it as a whole, um, Call of Duty itself, it needs work. A lot of people, and I'm included, Scant is in this as well. When MW3 first came out, we immediately said it was a copy and paste of MW2. They
it
should
is.
not have made us pay $70 more for a game that wasn't complete, it wasn't finished, under polished. It wasn't ready. It was not ready for launch because we knew that they rushed it. Um, and movement that we should have had in MW2 that we didn't. That we had over in 2019 COD. That's something that they could have simply just fixed in the middle of MW2. Instead, they made it this big ordeal that like, oh, you're getting the movement. We should have had that event. We should have had that already. Okay? Like it's just plain and simple. We paid more money. We continuously pay more money to a game that will not get better. It will be, and this is weird because if you look back at other CODs, it's overly complicated and it's not simplified anymore. Things have gotten way too complicated for people who
Mhm.
do not have the attention span or the will to try to learn and deep dive a game. Where I look at the weapons, I look at the attachments, I look at the metas, like somebody who's never heard of D&D before, trying to figure out things in D&D. That's how I look at that stuff because that's what it feels like. You don't know unless you look up videos and you have to look at all the stuff. It's like working on a car. It's like what goes here? What's this
Yeah.
attachment? You know what I mean? It shouldn't be like that. I agree with what you said earlier. Pick 10 system, if you guys remember it from Black Ops 2 and other Call of Duties around that same time period. That was so much more simplified. You can mess with attachments a little bit, that's fine. But having, an honest, real answer, 20 to 30 different reticles for a gun. is ridiculous.
Yes, yes.
Completely
You want
ridiculous.
to you want to hear one option they could do very simply
What?
for the people who want the majority of the people who really dwell on the attachment system are the people who want to play this game competitively. So that is one massive way to divide your player base. Bring back the pick 10 system into normal multiplayer and then add the attachments, the enhanced attachments and everything in competitive. Number one, because that reduces the amount of effort you have to put in that anyway, because competitive has less guns anyway. For example, the most recent patch removed so before season 2 launched, competitive had 3 ARs, a litany of SMGs, and 2 snipers. Now, competitive has 1 AR, a litany of SMGs, and 1 sniper. And frankly, well, they don't need all those SMGs, but there's only really one. But the point is, they could keep the attachment system in competitive for those people who want to really delve into, and the same thing for Warzone. There can be competitive Warzone, which there is, ranked Warzone, and you keep all those nuances because in that case that makes sense. These people are the people who are getting competitive. They want to drill it down to really niche attachments. But for the relaxed multiplayer, just keep it minimal.
And I think that'll also do it too. That will eliminate. Actually, you know what? That's a really smart idea. Like a seriously smart idea because what that'll do is that'll also take away a lot of your
I have a lot of those.
sweats. Yeah, sometimes. That'll also push and like you don't have to. And I'm not saying like it can be more competitive modes, but we're not talking like overly competitive. Like you have your dumbed down system. Basically, it's like a dumbed down. It's like a simplified system.
Mhm.
That would be great. You should still have access to everything that everybody else, like all the maps and all the different game modes and things you can
Yeah, I'm
play.
talking about
It
the
should not.
attachment system and
Yeah,
gun system.
but that's what I'm saying. Like its own thing. But here's the other thing too, though, and this is what because you made a comment about the sandbox, and it got me thinking about it too. Call of Duty has no reason to not be able to integrate more stuff.
Yeah.
However, when 2019 MW dropped, it was super laggy. It was super slow on responsive and menus and other stuff. And for whatever
Oh
reason,
yeah.
it is what it is, and it was what it was. But at this point in time, we're looking at games that are developed smaller than this is and run better and handle better and have more stuff better. And I'm talking like, as far as like looking at Overwatch and all that other stuff. Like there is no reason that this should not be better than what it is. For as long as it's been around, for
Mhm.
as much as it's been doing, there's no reason. And I think that right there is a
Because
wonderful
they
way
don't have competition.
because they don't have competition because we're sitting here in a stale sandwich every single day, same stuff, nothing changes because we don't have access to anything differently. So if we want a competitive PvP quick FPS game, this is it.
Why I went to Halo.
Yep. You went to Halo and I got bored and went to Power World. And you know what? And you know what? The replayability is there. And that's just it. Replayability is there. And I don't have to pay anything except for Game Pass to have it. I don't have
Mhm.
to pay $70 for the game. It's
Or
game
once on
preview
computer.
too. It's not
Either
even the
one.
full game. And it's still
Yeah.
it kills me. It really does. And so to recap what you just said, 100%, I want to make sure we end on this topic right here. Your solution to keeping Call of Duty alive, and I agree with this, so that's why I'm repeating it for you, is the death of the CDL, making it open to anybody and everybody who wants to play it. You don't have to buy into a multi-million-dollar franchise. That's number one to increase player view and possible retention between people watching versus people playing. That's number one. Number two is adjusting, fixing, fine tuning, or just straight up removing skill based matchmaking completely, or fine tuning, adjusting it to where if you go into regular, it's just a free for all, and you go into competitive, and it's competitive, whatever it needs to be, or actually adjusting it to where it actually makes sense based off of the last 50 games you've been in the bottom of the leaderboard, you're going to stay in those games that you can actually handle versus, hey, you had one good game. Here's a top 250 player who's going to drop a nuke on you, and this is your fifth game playing. Congratulations. Have fun. Welcome to our game. Please buy our bundle in the store. So that's another fix. Um, Listening to the player community base, and then the other one that we just talked about was what you
Competition.
just said
We need to
was
pray. Call of Duty players need to pray for the success of XDefiant.
yep, to where they actually need to be better. So there's that
Yeah,
one. Yes.
if you want a
So
better Call of Duty, pray for the success of XDefiant.
yep, and then so there's that, and then there's also um the attachments and the overcomplicatedness of Call of Duty. So you heard it here. I am Lunatic. That is
I am
Scant.
Scant.
There we go. This is our first podcast that we're going to conclude here. I want to say thank you everybody for listening all the way through. We are members of Aero Gaming, founding members of Aero Gaming. This content and everything that was done when involving it um, comes directly from us as we are players in the community. We actually play on a daily. We look at these games on a daily. All the resources were put up on screen if you're watching on YouTube. And then as far as Aero Gaming goes, if you want to join, you're more than welcome to. Add me. It is at a lunatic mimic on Discord. I'll do the at symbol. Or find me over on X, and that is also at lunatic mimic. If you ever want to join and be a part of this wonderful growing community where we're completely honest and we don't tiptoe around the actual issues. Any last words, Scant?
Activision can pucker up
There you go.
for all I
Thank you
care.
so much. Bye, guys.